What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. Now, today we're going to be doing a test, kind of a real loose unboxing toy modification test. I say loose unboxing because these aren't new toys, so I'm not trying to waste anyone's time, but we're looking at the DC Multiverse Superman, which I'm hoping to steal his head, and then since I'll have the body, I'm thinking I'll make it an All-Star Superman because he's got that small kind of All-Star Superman cape. So I'm thinking with some basic modifications, we'll get All-Star out of this. And then the whole reason for the test is I kind of wanted the DC Multiverse 1000 Superman, 1000, the one that was based off of the 1000th issue of Action Comics. And I kind of missed that opportunity. It's selling for $100 now. So I'm not dropping $100 for a toy, but for a fraction of the price, this figure is the exact same body sculpt, and that head is pretty much the same body sculpt. So for a fraction of the price, I get 3 figures, and with some basic modifications, I'm thinking I'll get my All-Star Superman. I'm thinking I'll get that Action Comics 1000 Superman, and I'll turn this Earth 1 Batman into a more traditional Doomsday. So, got a lot to do, little time to do it. Let's see how this turns out. All right, let's get into it. So, we are going to mutilate and dissect these figures. Now, I know my dad's watching in horror as I not only open these figures up, but modify them. So, the DC Rebirth Superman comes with this cool card, a little description, and it does come with a figure stand, which is great because these McFarlanes tend to need a little help standing up. There you have it. We've got the DC Rebirth Superman. I didn't pick this guy up originally because he had some really questionable things about his costume. Like, that's just kind of such a cheap way of retooling a costume. Not really a fan of this particular look, so I never ended up getting him. But that head is basically the same sculpt I'm looking for, and his cape is a great opportunity to try to get me that All-Star Superman look. So, there's one. This is a twin pack, so it comes with 2 cards. Superman, Action Comics 1000, which is what I'm hoping to make, and Batman Earth 1 from Dark Knight Metal, which is just Doomsday. Wait to really be Doomsday. The combo pack comes with 2 stands. And that comes with this giant, really kind of cool thing to play with. All right, so we got our Action Comics 1000 Superman. Wow, look at that's kind of not great detail there. Quality control. Quality control. He's one angry looking Superman. All right, cool. See if this guy's gonna stand up for me. Yeah, he mostly stands up. I'm gonna tip the camera a little bit. Get a better angle on what's going on. Maybe a little more light. A little more light on the subject. Oh, maybe not. All right, we got this guy. Even with the stand, there you go. Okay. And then we got this guy, who's pretty massive. Again, I'm going to move the camera here just a smidge, try to get a little more of this in frame for us. So, sure you've seen unboxings of these guys. Oh wow, I can't move his arm at all. Wow. He's got a joint here, but mine is frozen stuck. Oh, there it is. That is very hard to maneuver. He's got feet, joints. He's got a lot of joints, a lot of articulation, but boy, this guy is stiff. Actually, pretty good articulation for how massive he is. All right, we'll come back to this guy because I'm mostly going to focus on getting these Superman in order first, and then we'll come back and do some easy modifications on this Batman to make him a more traditional Doomsday. In the meantime, he can chill over here. So, first thing I want to do with this guy is pop his head off. And pop his head off. Boom, boom. Alright, so this is good. We popped his head off and the head came off, but the pole stayed. Popped his head off and the pole came with the head. So, just looking at the bodies though, pretty similar. Nah, they're actually pretty different. They have similarities though. Man, that's really poor quality control on this guy, if I'm being honest. All right, so this is stuck in there. But this is a good example. This is probably going to happen when you're doing toy modifications. And what you want to kind of do is just get yourself some warm water and drop him in there and get some pliers, and that thing should pull. It'll pull right out. So I'm gonna let him sit for a moment. So you can let the heads, whatever the part is, just sit for a moment. It'll probably get loose enough. The whole idea is you're just trying to warm the plastic up enough to kind of let the thing go. Boom. How simple was that? Now I'll take the head that I want, dry him off a little bit, and drop him onto this guy. And suddenly, without much trying, I just got a $100 toy. I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, he does have the different hands, but this guy comes with some hands. For a fraction of the price, now his hand is maybe a little big for this body. Is that a little big? It's not bad though. Yeah, they do look kind of big. So there you go. For a fraction of the price and a couple real basic modifications, you can have Superman Action Comics 1000. And it looks pretty freaking good. I mean, that's a real cheap hack. You take the head off of the DC Direct and take the figure off of the DC Multiverse, Batman Earth 1 and Superman set, and boom, you get yourself Action Comics 1000. Now, with that concluded, boom. Now, this is going to be a little more involved because what we're trying to do here is recreate All-Star Superman. So for inspiration, this is kind of the look, right? Traditional colors, but he's got this small cape, which is what works with this guy for me. And he's kind of got a baggy flow to his costume, which I think can also kind of work here. So we're going to have to retool some of these elements. So first up, All-Star Superman needs red trunks. So let's red his trunks up. It's good to keep some water nearby and a rag in case you get paint in a spot you don't want. You just kind of wipe it off. And we get a base on his feet. Now you could pop his feet off to do this a little better if you wanted to. But I'm just kind of, I think I'll be okay with him just kind of being a little more in the ballpark. All right, well, he's got about a coat and a half of red paint on him at this point. I'm gonna let that set up and dry, and then I'll go back and add probably another layer of paint on that. In the meantime, I'm gonna start touching up this Doomsday over here. So let's scoot this back to make a little more room for me to play. Obviously, there are a couple things. We know that Doomsday was in green, so we might want to start with getting his pants and all this material more green. So let's find a color and we'll come right back. All right, let's start with this green. It's not the right color green, but I think it's going to be good base color, and then we'll go back and we'll add some texture to it. So let's get this looking green. I think in the comic his green was a little darker, but starting with a light base should be pretty good because we can go back and add shading to it. And it's already got a dark base under the green, so I think that's going to work just fine, actually. What's nice about this is it doesn't need to be great, you know, he's battle worn, busted up, so the color can be a little scratchy and inconsistent. I think might actually end up being nice. It's already starting to feel more like Doomsday with the green, more like the monster. Look how good this is already starting to look. Any of you out there who want a McFarlane Doomsday, you're just one layer of green away from having it. I mean, instantly already looking way more Doomsday. I can't believe how simple that was. Honestly, can't believe how simple that was. And with some few more basic modifications, like I'm gonna cut these back because Doomsday doesn't have horns. This is obviously Batman's, but you know, add a little pop of white to make these bone spurs. All right, let's pause and I'll come right back to you. All right, there's one pass of green just over the costume And suddenly this Batman is really starting to feel like Doomsday. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut his horns off. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to pop off the camera to do this, so I have a little better access to his head. But I'm thinking if I cut off those little bat ears, then he'll suddenly have a much more round head, and he'll really start feeling like Doomsday. I'm hoping that it's solid, so when I cut it off, there's not a gaping hole. If there is a hole, that's going to change the process a little bit, and I'll have to fill it in. No, no, don't do it. Ah! Ooh. Hear his ears bouncing all over my office. I hear my dad cringing. Not only did you open it, now you mutilated it. Look at that, though. Now that's really starting to feel like... That's really starting to feel like Doomsday. Oops, got paint on me. Oh yeah, it's way better. Shave these down a bit more. So we got a basic wash over his clothes, and then we've added some green to his pants. All right, so now we're gonna add some highlights to this guy. I don't want to color him as much as my desire is to bring out all the detail that's kind of being lost by this being one shade, one clump of color. So I'm hoping I can take this white and just do a real light highlight over it. Again, this is not a good way to get paint on your brush, but I'm being kind of lazy here, so let's see if this works. All right, so welcome back. It's the next morning. I spent a couple hours kind of painting and shading this guy to make him look more like Doomsday, and I honestly could not be happier with how this eventually turned out. Just kind of an awesome Doomsday now. So if McFarlane made a Doomsday, this is probably what it would look like. So in conclusion, I wanted to buy Superman Action Comics 1000 figure, which cost almost $100. I opted out of that choice, and at a fraction of the price, ended up with 3 really cool figures instead of 1. This was my Rebirth figure, retooled to look more like All-Star Superman. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. Changed up the color on his belt, added some texture to his clothes, and I swapped out his head with an old McFarlane head I had floating around. This guy took the Superman Rebirth head and plopped it onto the Batman Superman figure, swapped out his hands, and suddenly I've got the figure I wanted. But if I'm being honest, the most unexpected thing is this freaking Doomsday. Cannot believe this Doomsday. This Doomsday turned out so good to me. I bought this Doomsday a while back. Now, this guy's a monster. This Doomsday a while back, which I think I did an unboxing for. And it's cool, but I'm not in love with it. It's also kind of expensive. Sorry, I got the blue from the Superman paint on my fingers. He's got all this soft plastic, and he doesn't keep his shape very well. He's really big, which is cool. He's like a 12-inch figure. This is from the Injustice line. It's Doomsday from the Injustice line. So he's definitely cool. And he's a really good size for fighting Superman. But this guy, this movable mouth, might have just turned into the definitive Doomsday for me. Also, I'll give you a little tip. The way you get color to just pop off these guys is pick whatever shade. These are the colors I pretty much used. I used this bright blue for the suit, for this guy's suit. Little skin tone, because I had to fix that blemish on the figure. I used Snow White for almost all of Doomsday's pops. And I use this spring green for Doomsday's pants. And the way I got his texture to pop off him is I took that white color, and you kind of treat it like you're a forensics person dusting for fingerprints. And you just do a real light feathering over, and you're going to end up getting all this texture that McFarlane puts into the toys to start popping off the figure. And suddenly, what's otherwise just one wash of color has all this texture and dimensionality. And that's how I would recommend doing pretty much any figure you want to add texture to. For example, my buddy Lawrence, who's on this channel, did an unboxing of Mr. Freeze recently. If I were him, I'd find a metallic kind of blue and just do a real light, like you're dusting for fingerprints, over the figure, and suddenly all that texture is going to pop out. Anyways, hope this has been cool. So if you want to get your Action Comics 1000 edition Superman and 3 extra figures for no price, this is the way to do it. Man, that Doomsday is cool. Peace!
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk.